Hour two of the show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. My dancing song a little bit later on, influenced strongly by a certain Broadway show I saw earlier this week. I'll talk about that in just a second here. But once again, we have another driver of the GOP clown car. We have another candidate, and I'll talk more about him in just a little bit here, down in Senate District 52, who's using language such as we have to vote with bullets, and he talking about how what's his thing? I'm more than happy to lay waste to whatever comes my way, he says, and it's one of those things. And it's unfortunate because this is who the GOP has unfortunately become, is this kind of extremist far right. But fear not, Minnesota Senate District 52. You have sanity on the ballot this time as well. Senator Jim Carlson is kind enough to join us. I believe he's currently Senate District 51, but he is in the brand new Senate District 52. Am I correct about that, Senator?
That's absolutely correct, yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time today, my friend.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. No problem. Let's first of all, let me talk about how much did your district change with the redistricting?
It changed only on the bits of the fringes. Now, we didn't have one precinct in the northern part of Eagan, so we got that back. And we also got back all of Mendota Heights, and we lost a little bit of southern Eagan and some of eastern Burnsville.
Okay.
So we still have the same cities, except now I do have, in addition, Mendota Heights and the city of Mendota as well.
So a little more compact, which goes along with the fact that the population has grown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Matt Burke in there too, don't you?
Yes, he's my constituent now.
Oh, I'm sure he's happy about that.
Yeah.
The Senator, let's. I mean, one of the reasons why I'm having you on today is that unfortunately your opponent has decided to do what's happening across the country, not just here in the state of Minnesota, but across the country, and is getting into this rhetoric, this dangerous rhetoric of vote for me or else sort of thing. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of where we're at. What's your thoughts on this? Because this is kind of becoming the ugly side of politics right now.
It certainly is. It's hard to kind of put your thoughts into words, but the first thing I think of is why do we need to say those things? Why do we need to be so divisive and actually go right to the intimidation of violence right away? I've been living out here in Eagan for my whole life, and Eagan is a nice suburb. It's we have reasonably well controlled. The populace, let's say, is very satisfied here. We have high satisfaction rates in Eagan and very little crime. The only thing we're talking about right now is catalytic converter thefts. But I don't know why someone would have to go as far to the, and I guess I have to say right, as far to the right to start suggesting that violence is an option if the ballots don't work.
It does not represent your district. I've been in your district a lot. It's a gorgeous district. It's a fun district. There's a lot of things to do down there. A lot of good restaurants too, and so it is very. I don't know if it's just desperation because of the fact that he's going to be the underdog in the case, but this is this underlying current that we have seen, which kind of comes from the Trump side of things, which is that it doesn't matter if you lost. It's basically what you can convince followers of. And this, like I said, when I read these quotes, and I'll get into this a little bit more after we're done talking, but when I read these quotes, I see it's more desperation than I see of anything that has any kind of political integrity.
Yes, and I'm going to say that some of it is probably Trump inspired, some of the reaction, but this goes beyond Trump. And I'll compare, when I think of my opponent, I think of John Thompson from the east side of St. Paul, because he went wild with his rhetoric and even some of his intimidation and doing some of those things. And he wound up getting kicked out of the House Democratic caucus. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that this would be tolerated by the Republican Senate caucus. I think not. When you start to bring in intimidation and the use of firearms because I can't get what I want and I can't get the election to turn out the way I want. But, basically with this fellow's speech, he said that people who are not satisfied with their elections and with the ballots, then they can turn to bullets. Well, one thing about Minnesota elections is we're number one in turnout. And what that translates into is the populace is very happy with our elections. They are very sure that they're safe, secure, and accurate. So there's really no reason to go to the extremes and threaten the extremes in Minnesota. It's just not needed at all.
And I'm going to make sure, just for the record here, I'm going to say the exact quote here, and I'll talk about this more after we're done talking. Voting with a ballot before we have to vote with bullets. That is not good rhetoric. But this is, let's look at the Republican Party today as you look here, because I think there's a really good chance the DFL can pick up the Senate this time around. I really do think that way. You've got, the top of the ticket, Burke and Jensen. Dear Lord. I mean, they're just a gaffe fest. You have a Secretary of State candidate who played an anti-Semitic video at the GOP convention, and they all applauded. You have an Attorney General candidate who's part of an organization who says there has never been a medical need for an abortion. So that's pretty extremist. You have a party that's been dancing along the lines of guys like Eric Mortensen, although that they are trying to distance themselves from him. But this extremist fringe, which they've even had to fight off in some of their own races this last primary, successfully and unsuccessfully in some cases. But the reality is this really is to a point kind of part of what the Republican Party is becoming, and it really is disturbing because it doesn't help get things done in St. Paul.
That's right, yes. Yeah, we're kind of kicking off the election season now. Usually candidates say nothing really happens until Labor Day. And so we're even ahead of Labor Day now, and it's opening up to this kind of conversation. Mm-hmm. So I'm confident that the Minnesota voters they'll take notice and they'll evaluate things. And these days you can do a lot of easy searches on people, and these kinds of things are going to show up. They're going to show up in, this Patriot, whatever it was, gathering that happened in Rosemont where these statements were made. But they're going to show up in other places, too, and people are going to take notice, and they're going to say, wait a second, we don't want violence. We don't want the threat of violence.
You got to condemn it.
We're going to eschew that.
Yeah, you definitely you can't allow that to fester. It used to be a time where I think people said, I can't say anything nice, don't say anything else. No, you have to condemn this stuff because this is inappropriate in any venue. Senator Jim Carlson is joining us, the soon-to-be Senate District 52. You've been 51 there. You've been there 4 times. 2006, 12, 16, 20,
yep.
2020. So you're looking to be in the new senator there for the new District 52. You brought up catalytic converters. I'm going to let's talk a little bit about that. There's been some bills that have been introduced that want to really address the catalytic converter theft. Has it been a big problem down in your district?
I can't say that it's a big problem, but it is a problem. Mm-hmm. I've had 3 of them stolen on my street.
Wow.
Just within, the length of a city block. One of them, one of the thefts was 2 houses away from me. And I have a car right now that I have to let set out on the driveway. And so I have to I put cameras on it so that in case anything happens, I'll get notified that somebody is messing with the car. But yes, it is something that we were looking at. And what we had was a bill by John Marty, which would simply require any catalytic converter that is not attached to a car either be in control, in possession of someone who is authorized to have them, a repair shop or a dealer or something like that. If a catalytic converter was in the back seat of someone's car and it did not have the VIN number of the automobile that it came from, then it would be contraband. And these things are expensive. So it actually would rise to a felony theft. And once it had a VIN number on it, you can easily trace it back to the car that it came from. So you could easily investigate it and easily charge a person with a felony theft if you caught them with a catalytic converter that didn't have the VIN number on it. We tried to get that passed. We tried to get it voted on the Senate floor, and the majority would not even vote for it. So that was very disappointing in my view. But it's something that we can at least charge people with the kind of crime that they're committing. And my police chief out here in Egan is Roger New, and he and I were talking about it, and he said that people are really ticked and they want something done. And I was texting him during the time that we were taking it up for a vote, and he would have probably came in and testified if that was still allowed at that time, but we were doing it on the Senate floor. And he said that there's, that it's going to rise to the violence where someone detects someone out in their driveway cutting off their catalytic converter, and they're going to bring their firearm out, and there could be a firefight right in the driveway, and we don't want that. We want to somehow make sure that this kind of habit is toned down. Catalytic converters they're kind of like Bitcoins. You can trade them for things because they're so expensive and they're so it's easy to get the metals out of them that are very valuable, but they're very expensive to replace. So there's a woman that told me a couple of weeks ago that she had, and I said, you must have a nice car because it has dual exhausts. And she said, yes, it had 2 catalytic converters, and it cost me $5,000 to get them replaced. So, yes, there's things we can do, but there are things that have been offered, and they've not been accepted by the majority party in the Senate.
I think the first thing we can do is give you the Democrats the lead. They'll be able to get that passed fairly quickly.
I hope, yes.
I would love that. Senator Jim Carlson joining us, Senate District 52. Your endorsements. I wanted to get your thoughts here on this bill that just got passed by Joe Biden, the largest bill to ever fight climate change. You're endorsed by the Clean Water Action, Sierra Club as well. You talk a little bit about that. Obviously, environmental issues are important to you, and it looks like we're actually going to get some things done now. Yes,
I hope so. I'm a mechanical engineer, but I've worked on all sorts of different products and technologies, things like that. And so I understand what's happening here, and we do need to make sure that our environment is safe and survivable for the people that are younger than us. I'm a grandpa. I have a 4-year-old grandson who lives in California, and I get lots of negatives. When people talk about California, they think it's some kind of, hippiedom or something like that. But I can tell you that the air is a lot cleaner right now in Los Angeles than it was when I first started going out to California when I worked for 3M in 1984. It's much, much better. So that's the kind of thing that I'm hoping that we can maintain is clean water, clean air. We've got water now that has some problems with it. And you hear some of these statements like, oh, gosh, we're going to put a pipe from California to the Mississippi River. Well, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
Or we're going to take water out of southern Dakota County and put it into rail cars and take it to Arizona. And, well, we kind of put a stop to that. So there's some of these municipalities or uses of water are very, they're frantic because they need to have clean water. And we're very fortunate at this time that we have not had that issue. I've gone through this many times over many years. I at one time worked at Ecolab, which is economics laboratory when I worked there. But in California, Marin County had a water crisis. And I actually designed a device that would go onto a commercial laundry machine and save the water from one cycle to the next so that it would only use 2 fills of water for its entire cycle of 5 cycles.
Wow.
And that's the kind of thing that we're going to be forced to go to eventually. So we need to make sure that we watch out for our water quality and our air quality. Some of our air quality is, we're in pretty good shape in Minnesota, except for some of the the big city air is not as good, and they have a lot more of the pollutants in the air than we have out in the country. So we need to make sure that no matter where we live, we have air that we can breathe and water we can drink.
Well, and you bring up the air thing. Minneapolis-St. Paul, the story that was just out in the Minnesota Reformer, 300 people die per year in Minneapolis-St. Paul proper alone because of air quality issues. The Democrats are out there, the DFL is out there working hard to try to get this fixed. The Republicans are out there trying to prevent you from even being able to buy an electric car. I mean, this is not really a debate, is it? I mean, the one side basically is burn, baby, burn. The other side is saying, I want people to survive as healthy as possible.
Yes, that's right. Well, one thing that I have to explain is that there are some issues that our political system turns into a wedge issue. And it's not the issue that's important, it's the value of that wedge. So right now it's the electric cars, the value of the wedge that's caused by the increase in the use of electric cars. And we've gone through a lot of discussion, I can say, in the Senate about the value of electric cars, the promotion of electric cars, and and also we are looking at a future where they're coming. They're coming. So let's and it's a good thing that they're coming. So let's get this good thing going as fast as we can.
Jim Carlson, Senator, Senate District 51, currently soon to be Senate District 52. Jim, I want people to go on out there and help you out there. Obviously, you're close to the metro. This makes it easier for people to volunteer for you, to donate for you. You can't allow we can't take, even as crazy as your opponent's comments have been, you don't take any election for granted. So we want people to get out to volunteer and help you out, donate to your campaign. What is your webpage if people would like to get more information about you?
It's carlsonforsenate.com. Carlson for Senate. And it's you can go on to the Secretary of State's website or the campaign finance website. You can eventually find it, or you can just Google it. Yep. Because it comes out really easily. And by the way, when we talk about my district, I'm so happy that I now have the Vikings as my constituent. The Viking Lakes. So yeah, this is a great district. 51 was a good district. I used to call it Area 51, and I have to give up on that name now. But it's a great district, and we have a lot of good people. And by the way, former Governor Pawlenty is my constituent as well.
Wow!
And I know him reasonably well. He's a great guy, and we've had some interactions. Yeah, he came through a restaurant where my family and I were sitting, and he said, "Oh my gosh, is this the Carlson Democratic contingent for Egan?" So yeah, that's we don't like the strong politics out here, the polarization. I actually was a little bit more red in my past than I am today. As we get older, the people that are red turn blue, and the blue people maybe turn red. But in my case, I have two children that. Well, they're not children anymore. They're adults that live on the West Coast, one in Seattle, one in Los Angeles, and a grandson. And every time I think of what is going to happen in the future, I think of my grandson. Mm-hmm. We had a serious hit here at the beginning of COVID where his other grandpa died of COVID. So I'm the surviving grandpa, and he is my only grandson. So we're pretty closely knit, and I will do anything for him. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'm hoping that I can do more for Egan. This is a great place to live. I actually grew up right here on a farm, so we, if people know where Pilot Knob Road was,
yep.
Our farm was on Pilot Knob Road, and the southern border of the farm was Wilderness Run Road. Okay. And that's the development that our family built. Mm-hmm. So we're older than dirt out here.
Well, and that's it. And one of the things is, as you just brought up, it's a developing district. A lot of people are moving out there. Senator, first of all my best to your family. It's funny how Republicans become much more personable when they retire. That was kind of it, for sure. Jim Carlson, the Democratic senator running Senate District 52. I'll spotlight this interview. We'll also put out all the links for people to go out and find on the internet. Senator, thank you very much. I really appreciate the time. Fantastic interview.
Sure enough. Yeah. Thank you very much, Matt. And I'll be listening to you, too.
Thank you very much, Senator. Senator Jim Carlson, kind enough to join us. Let's take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show on AM 950.